And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Epic LAN, here to continue on with our action here at the Beacon qualifying Epic LAN 36. I'm the Eternal J. I'm joined by John P. And thank you for joining us after the extended break as well. We've done with our group stage, and then we're ready to move on into the bracket, the best of 3 action, where all 16 teams will be seeded into our double elim system. And by the end of Sunday, we'll decide who our winner is. It all starts here and now, John.
Yeah, it's what we like to call crunch time, really, don't we, in terms of bracket play. One team will advance their way through and have a bit more of a favourable, less grueling, less daunting task of that losers bracket one, and for the other, well, I literally just summed it up perfectly. Those losers bracket runs can be very long, very tiring. You've got to play at least one extra series as well in terms of the losers final to get back up to the grands. However, you know what? You know, some teams thrive off the losers bracket and they know it's their last chance to stay alive. They pop off, they go huge, and we've seen the losers bracket run be successful many a times in many esports, so maybe we'll see some shocks today or this weekend, should I say, in Beacon.
Well, certainly over the course of this match, we'll decide who will be the first teams down into the lower bracket. In our match on stream will be RIX GG Static, of course, we saw them earlier, our top seed, our top of the group over in Group A, versus Bald Buff as the bottom seed over in Group B. So, this is going to be, I think, a very one-sided match.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a person that looks off the stats, off the paper, off any sort of logic at all, you'd probably say that RIX Static coming into this should be and should do the job quite comfortably.
Yes.
However, look, on the side of Bold Buff, they've got a few individuals that can perform well. You know, the likes of Squash, for example. Absolutely delightfully wonderful guy. Love him to pieces. Such a nice person. He's a very good Valorant player as well. He's quite highly ranked in terms of the leaderboards. You know what? One player I want to say we got to watch out for is Meg as well. Listen, Meg can get the work done. All right. She puts a lot of hard work into becoming good at the game. She takes this not only as a bit of fun, but she's got a bit of a serious streak about her as well, so I'm excited to see how she gets on. And just hold the whole of Bold Buff in general. I went downstairs to see the squad of Bold Buff and let them know that they were on stream. One of them was dancing on stream. Probably consumed many Jaeger bombs by now. And it was, you know, very all fun and vibes in games for them. They know they're coming to this game as the lowest seed.
Yes.
They know that they most likely will be knocked down into the losers bracket. However, you're not going to go out without a fight for sure.
Definitely not. Although, as you mentioned here, John, like there's very different sort of comparison in terms of mentality between these two teams. Because RIX, as we mentioned time and time again over the course of this broadcast, is that they are the top team from the Beacons table in Epic LAN. So for them, it's a very important tournament for them to be able to take. Not just because of the fact that they should be able to do so, they're the highest seed as a result, but also because it will go a long way in terms of that VRL spot.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing for them. That's the thing that they're looking at the most right now, is to be able to hold their own and take a victory like this in a pretty simple fashion, go into the next round, go into the quarterfinals, and just dominate their way forward from that.
Well, it sets them up perfectly for the final Beacon event of the season as well, or for this phase of the event, should I say, which is going to be the Guild Academy one that's run next week. And they're going to get themselves a good, hefty amount of points if they come inside the top 3. You know, I think it's 100 for third, 150 for second, and 200 for top spot. So they'll have catapulted themselves from 6th spot up into, what, like 3rd or 4th, maybe, if not 2nd spot, should they win this and collect all the Beacon points out of it. You know, and I think that goes the same for any of these teams that are playing. It only takes you to have one good event and you're right back up in the positive side of the standings to try and put yourself into a higher division for grand finals later on in the year.
Absolutely. Again, so much to play for in this particular tournament for the RIX side, and maybe for the other side of things, they're not quite as whole cloth, like taking it seriously, which I guess can be pretty effective in their gameplay to a certain extent. But at the same time, as you mentioned before, there's potential for certain individuals to be able to do some decent work here. I don't know if those individuals will be enough, however, to be able to take an upset victory by the RIX side here, John.
Yeah, listen, I would love to say that in some sort of fairy tale ending that the side of Bold Buff will come in and 16-0 RIX on both maps, and, well, 13-0 RIX on both maps and win the series 2-0. But, I mean, it's going to be a very, very tough and a very, very tall task, to say the least. This RIX side, they've looked fantastically well so far this event, but they've also looked vulnerable at times in that CSGG matchup. They were lucky to scrape through that 16-14 in overtime that we saw earlier on. It was actually us who casted it. So there is potential there for sides to cause RIX troubles. However, I don't think Bold Buff are going to be the team to do that.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Again, I think as the bracket goes on, they'll be tested more and more. But in terms of this matchup, it should be a bit of a layup for them, we won't lie, in that sort of sense. So we'll get to see whether or not there will be any sort of major issues in terms of their own gameplay style. I do have a feeling that that CSGG matchup was definitely more of a case of both teams at the top end of the table and the squads that should have been up in that top side of things able to dominate their way through and of course, have a classic clash essentially here at Epic Land. I think we won't get that until maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday, when we'll see those last few sort of stages of the upper bracket play out.
Well, you start to see it around like Saturday evening, right? Saturday night when we're in sort of like winners bracket round 4, the quarterfinal stages before we set ourselves up for the semis and grand finals on the other days, on the Sundays, for example. But look, either way, I think we're in for an interesting affair and an interesting rest of the tournament throughout Beacon. These teams have come to play, they've come to win, and they've come to collect those circuit points. And you know, even teams like Bold Buff, who RIX might look at and think, we should probably be looking past them into who we can play in round number 2. I think they'll be locked in quite seriously because they don't want to make any mistakes.
Well, it's the teams that you underestimate are the ones that get you the hardest, right? You know, there are a lot of situations where top-end squads in all esports have been, this will be an easy piece of cake. We'll just walk straight through this one and we won't take it all that seriously and it'll be easy. And then they lose. So that's the key thing for RIX. Again, it's something I was talking about earlier with you in one of the previous best of ones, is the whole mentality side of complacency and that. How complacent do we think RIX can get? Because I know that you were obviously looking at some of the squads downstairs and they were having as good a time as I like to do at Epic Land. But in terms of the RIX side, do you have any insights as to how geared up they are for this matchup?
Well, put it this way, the side of Bold Buff, a couple of them were outside having a bit of a laid-back chat. All 5 members of RIX were sat at their PCs playing aim lab or deathmatching, for example, and ready in the lobby waiting to go. So they're zoned in, they're locked in there, they're ready to get things rolling. They're probably in the back of their heads, they were like, this is the perfect matchup we've got on Friday night, is to try and get a quick 2-0 out the way with, get back to the hotel nice and early, around 11 o'clock-ish by the time the games are wrapped and they get home, and have a good night's sleep, and then come back for some real grueling tasks tomorrow in the bracket stage. So, yeah, definitely interesting to see what sort of mentality they bring to this. In particular, Sagino as well. How good was he earlier on in that game against CSGG? What, 42 frags, I think he dropped?
Something in that particular region. A lot of frags over for him, and definitely we got to watch out for. Now, of course, best of 3 rules means that our ban phases are ban, pick, ban. We've got the first one coming through right now. The RIX side will be banning Split as the first map in the pool to get removed. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's out of rotation at the moment in pro play, so it doesn't. It's still in the Beacon play because once Beacon started, it was already allowed to be played. So once Pearl has its map fixes and exploit fixes, that's going to take the place of Split, I believe, in the rotation. I quite like Split, which is probably every competitive Valorant player's opposite. They hate Split for some reason. I think it's a really, really good map to play. So it doesn't surprise me Split goes out early doors. That's going to be followed by Breeze as well on the side of Bold Buff. I think we're going to probably get like an Icebox or an Ascent here, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah, we're talking about those standardized maps, those ones that have been in the pool for so long, and everyone understands how to play them. The simpler ones in the map pool, and we have seen quite a lot of those simpler style of ones. I think we saw a Fracture earlier during this during the group stage, if memory serves me correctly, or is that not?
No, we nearly saw a Fracture. It was second last ban.
Okay,
it was Breeze that we played.
So so we have seen a Breeze at some point, but that won't be played on this particular occasion. But you're right, Icebox, Ascent, those sort of like angles are probably where the RIX side will look to pick into. They're going to go towards Haven though, rather than above all else.
We're taking a little look at the live chat right now, and the RIX have picked Haven, and Bold Buff have replied, "Oh my god, great! Thank you so much. We love Haven." So a little bit of mind games. Ooh, we picked Fracture. Oh, Bold Buff have come for the memes and the plays. They've actually played Fracture quite a bit. They played it 3 times in their best of ones.
John, do you remember what I was saying earlier? Right, like I don't get to cast much Valorant. I don't get to do many of these broadcasts. So this will actually be my first ever Fracture cast.
I'm glad to be a part of it. It's a historic moment.
We're popping cherries here at Epic Land.
Quite literally. I can't wait to say, okay, Jay, now cast what's happening. And you're like, what is this map? Why are half of the people spawning on one side?
Just going to go ahead and Google Fracture call-outs.
Agent weapons and guns.
but on a more serious note here, like Fracture, why would Bull Buff pick into this one?
Because they've actually played it. I think, like I said, 3 out of the 6 best of ones they played earlier on. It's a map that they're quite decent at, to be honest with you. Every time they played it, they took around 8 or 9 rounds on the map. It's a very complicated map to play, to be honest with you. So sometimes that puggy style of play, that you could probably associate with some other FPS games in particular, like yourself from CSGO, you've got the likes of some CS maps that are very puggy. Fracture can sometimes be like that because it's such a curveball. There's so many different angles and crooks and crannies. It's a real anomaly, to be honest with you. Even at the highest level of pro play, we don't see much fracture played. So maybe that's why. But we are going to see Icebox go out. Bind will follow. And I'm not too sure. That leaves us with Ascent. That leaves us with Ascent. So we're going to be, if we need the third map, it will be Ascent. But to kick things off, we're headed over to Haven.
Haven, Fracture, and Ascent will be the maps in this map pool. Do we feel like there's a chance we could go to 3 maps here, John?
Of course, 100%. I'm calling first map's going to be 2018. Triple, quadruple overtime. Second map, 8 overtimes. That's
definitely a meme joke, isn't it?
No, I'm being serious.
You're being serious?
Deadly serious. Look at my face.
Really?
The face when your caster says we're going to overtime.
For those of you who don't know, we've been posting memes from our photo sessions throughout the course of the day on
Eternal
Twitter.
J.
At the Eternal
Savage.
J, if you want
Absolute
a fun little meme in regards to Rick. Shout out to Rick, by the way. He's in the pub quiz right now, having a lot of fun.
He's a champ.
Yeah, but obviously, Haven, first map, very standard territory. In theory, Rick should be able to have better fundamentals than the Ball Bus.
Yeah, I mean, they would have practiced map a lot, to be totally honest with you. It's a map that if you're a team and you have it in your map pool, it's always a nice, safe, cushy pick to pick up as well. If, you know, especially if you're good on the map, for the sake that we've seen a fracture pick from Bold Buff that then sort of plays into the hands of RIX as well to sort of dictate where they want to go for the final map, with them being very, very good on Ascent naturally anyway. So, yeah, I think if Bold Buff want any sort of success out of this series, it would be to try and take the map pick of RIX on Haven. But then again, though, the fact that RIX might be picking this, they might try a completely different team comp, for example, for this game to try things out, you know, against a quote-unquote lesser team before tomorrow. So, and that's no disrespect to Bold Buff. There's some very good individual talented players. Every player on their team is probably better than me whilst they're steaming drunk as it is, let alone me being sober. So, but in terms of a competitive environment, I think RIX might try a few new things here tonight to see what they can get out of it.
Yeah, I imagine there'll be some very fun times in this particular regard. So we're about ready to jump into the map up. Any final thoughts on this one, John? Any particular players and individuals you want to look out for? Other things you want to watch out for here?
Well, I mean, you got to talk about Sagino, right, on the side of RIX, but Squash for the side of Bold Buff as well. Honestly, best Bulldog player I've ever seen in my life. I wish my ball, I don't know what Bulldog he uses, but mine does not shoot like that when I play competitive Valorant, all right. But I'm just hoping that we have a fantastic final end to the day. It's been a long, long day of best of ones. We had 7 best of ones. We appreciate you guys sticking with us at home, yourself, Jay, and all the other casters for sticking by me throughout the long and daunting task of the best of ones. But here we go, finally, into Agent Select for our first best of 3 of the Beacon event here at EPIC36. And let's take a little look at this team comp. We've got a Yoru on
Okay, all right then. We have yet to see a Yoru today, I don't think. So talk me through this, the thinking here from the RIX side. Or from the Ball Buff side, rather.
I mean, Yoru, since his rework, since he's now got the decoy, that's an actual full-person decoy and a full sort of body double in comparison to just the steps. We've seen a lot more people use him because if you shoot the decoy, it actually flashes to people that shoot it as well. So it's one of those situations where he's been played a lot more. And on a map like Haven, that flash TP towards the back of the site and to sort of break the angles and line of visions for the opponent setting up on either the attacking or defensive side can be a bit of a tough task. But here we go, though. We have got Squash probably going to be locking in the likes of a flash. It will be maybe a KO, maybe a Sky. It is the KO. Summer's going to be on the Sage. Meg on the Jet. Bold Buff himself, the man they're named after, currently going to be rocking at the Omen. On the other side, though, we spoke about Pegasus earlier on, the main controller player for the side of RIX. Lou onto the Fade. Sagino, no shock there that he's going to be rocking that chamber. Looks so solid on it all weekend so far.
Yeah, very solid chamber stuff from him over the course of the best of one, especially the one against the CSGG, obviously, was the agent that he was using to get all those frags up. So here comes the pistol round, John. This one's going to be a very interesting one to start things off. Obviously, we saw some great defensive halves earlier on over the course of the group stage, and we were talking a little bit about how defensives can get spread in a little bit. So I wonder whether RIX will take that same aggressive style down towards long and the C-long positions.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. We saw it earlier on, right, when I can't remember. It might have actually been RIX who was playing against Gladius on this map earlier on, where on the defensive side of things, even the attacking, they would just try and take one whole control of a lane on a site, whether it be C or A, just because then you kind of turn the map into a more traditional 2 bomb-sited map because you've got so much control over it early doors. But time will tell. Patience is a virtue, of course, but one thing we haven't got any patience for is to wait to get into this one. Here we go, map number 1, it's Haven, it's RIX versus Bold Buff.
Let's kick these playoffs. Starts with Zapzo going so aggressive early on. Bold Buff is going to find Rex to kick things off, but Pegasus has instantly in there with a response. Bold Buff has got to get back out towards Heaven, take his Ghost out of the long range angles, being marked for death as they all face him in from that long control. One good kill is found against Peter, but Lou gets that trade. Spike's picked up, Sergino comes up with a decent trade alongside Squash. Sergino chimes back in against him, so it's all dynamic, and she cannot hold on forever. 3 kills for Sergino, pistol gained by RIX.
Yep, starting off solidly on the chamber as well, unfortunately for Meg. Just shot that cloud burst smoke just slightly too further than the dash would have took her to. But it doesn't matter though, as the first does go on the board for the side of RIX nevertheless. But fair play where credit is due. That was a close round for Bold Buff to start things off. It is only, of course, the pistol round. Those Spectres will go in the hand of the attackers. And just like that, you should look at what could be a comfortable conversion on the second round for the side of RIX Static. But how many anti-eco Nico round wins we've seen so far this weekend? I've run out of fingers and toes at this point, I think, Jay.
Start reacting by counting the number of peripherals we have on the table. Figuring all that
we haven't got any.
Yeah, we do. Sereno comes up with a kill onto Rex to kick things off. Again, the pistol's working out well for the initial frags, but Lou and Pegasus has instant control back to the 4 on 2 scenarios. So the attacking side with all sorts of control. Squash going to get blinded, flashed off, covers out, he's dead. Or left to Meg once again in the 1v4. Just no real pistol potential, not really much that they could do in that whole defensive line for the Bold Buff side. So again, eco dealt with, here come the guns.
Yep, here comes the 4x4, the side of Bold Buff. Looking for a little bit of a Vandal buff, you could say, at least anyway, in this round. Big round to say the least. This is where if you can't afford to lose the bonus against a team like RIX, it'll start to spiral out of control. I think we have got a few tech issues, though. Not only have we waited about 40 minutes for this series, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for it to get into the third round and see the first full buy, because a few players have got some issues. Sergino, though, starting off great. 5-0, 3-1 for Lou, 2-0 for Peg. I mean, for the side of Bold Buff, though, Jay, if you're them, if you're one of the players or the IGLs for them, you're coming into this as a relatively underdog. What kind of mentality do you take into this game?
A kind of no pressure mentality, I think. Like as you mentioned earlier, like they don't got anything to lose here. They definitely are the bottom seed versus the top seed in this particular context. They are a squad that have got nothing to prove in this kind of a matchup, and so as a result, the idea is to take it as it comes. Do your best, play your own kind of game, and then from there, you might catch off a few mistakes, because if you're playing to your own comfort level, and from there, you're playing to your best game, in theory, right? And even though that game might not necessarily be enough to beat a squad like a RIX, what it will be is enough to be able to play to your best kind of game. And that's the thing, right? Yep. Play to your best, do what you can, and then from there, take it as it comes.
Yeah, and sometimes when you have that laid back, no worries mentality, you can actually end up finding yourself exhaling to that next level and beating teams without even realizing it.
Again, RIX are the ones with something to prove here. Yep. In this matchup, in this tournament, they are the team that are top of the Beacons table as of right now. So they're the ones that got the pressure. When you have pressure, that oftentimes can lead to mistakes. And that's the thing for them. Mistakes are the one things that RIX are going to try to avoid. That's the things that the opposing forces are going to be able to challenge in every single matchup. And Bold Buff especially, if they play without pressure, then they won't be making as many mistakes. RIX can't punish those kind of mistakes. At least that's the case in theory.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, something that always goes out of the door and out of the kitchen window is theory when it comes to Valorant, because it's not as straightforward as that at times. But we do apologise once again for the slight tech delay. We'll try and get this back up and load. I think a PC crash or a game crash here or there. Listen, it's esports, it's LAN at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen.
I think Meg's DC'd, unfortunately, so get her back into the server and then we can just run it from there.
I mean, looking ahead till tomorrow. Right, obviously one of these teams, not just one of these teams, one of all of the teams that are playing in a best of 3 right now. We'll try and keep you as the maps go on, by the way, and updated with what the current scores are. They got to drop into that losers bracket tomorrow, Jay. Yeah. That's going to be, yourself as a caster and analyst. I mean, I know you played in a few pick-up tournaments here and there throughout your days. We know firsthand just how much of a tough task that losers bracket can be.
Yeah, because you talked about pressure a moment ago, like the pressure just mounts now from there, because it's like, right, well, one series done and you are done. That's it. Your tournament's over. And that's the thing. For tomorrow, there is no inters. Yeah. So there's no real second chances for the teams in the lower bracket. They could be one and done in the first round of the tournament. And there will be some teams that will end up being the case, of course. So it's concerning for the Bold Buff and RIX Static side. Whoever loses the series, they will be in a lot of trouble, to say the least. So RIX obviously don't want it to be them. They go towards the gun buys. The bonus weapons will be in play with the Spectres still across the offensive boards. So Gino comes up initially with the first contact. Kill not quite found. Now I've got Rex being suppressed back here by the knives. So Gino is the one to get the opening kill on Zapzo, though. So again, opening up towards that mid control.
There's a big pick as well onto the Yoru. That's going to shut down any potential retake from the flashes as well. And speaking of flashes, there goes Squash as well. KO's offline now, all up to Summer. Trying to stay alive as long as she can. Isn't going to be able to find the first. It's Rex who picks up the kill free of charge. Meg's all the way over towards C-Stite. Still surely here, herself and Bold Buff just trying to save these Vandals through to the next. A solid 5 players sat onto the site. As I say that, craziness from Bold Buff. I know he's probably had a few shots to say the least, but not the kind of shots that he wants to be taking here in a Valorant game, as Peter's going to find Meg 3 on the board for the side of RIX, and that's a great start here from the favourites.
Yeah, decent way in, way out to this one. Not much luck there with the opening gun by there for the Bold Buff camp. RIX Static should have all of their basics in order. The 3-0 start, winning the first rifle, getting those conversions, and obviously just stacking upon the pistol round that they've just gained here. So again, the attacking side on the perfect start so far.
Yeah, perfect start, and probably the start that RIX expected themselves to have. I mean,
yes.
The bonus, of course, is quite literally a bonus for them, as they're going to now be able to start to build that economy ever so slightly. Only the Spectre in the hand for some of the instant TP across from Peg is going to open up the doors, though, for the side of Bold Buff, and Bold Buff in particular to find the first. It's Luhu forwards, instant trade back out, though, from the Raze. That's going to be RIX doing work with the Vandal. And look at the aggression here from the side of RIX.
Decent effort from the pistols, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like much is going to come over here for the defensive line. Again, 4 versus 3. At least that one kill did come out from Buff earlier on. Rex has walked right past Zapzo, and Summer is able to get the trade back. So she stands alongside Pegasus in the RIX side, pressing the issue, facing it upon. Summer actually gets the Spectre out to a decent kill, but Peter is going to trade back on Squash. So it's all left to Summer to clutch this one. Up to 4K in the 1 versus 2. The taps up, unable to connect the shots on the Vandal, unfortunately. So it looks like she's just going to get suppressed by the 2-player crossfire. Both players seen Sajino there with the final frag will take the 4th round back for the attacking side, and just continue to put paid to Bold Buff here. A couple of good frags in that particular connector and rotation positions, but unable to really maintain any control.
Not too what I'm more shocked about, the fact that RIX have started off flawlessly, or for the first time today we actually have game sound. This has cost us. There was a bit of an issue earlier on. Yeah. One of our cables, I think, for the actual production team was broke or something like that. And
there's some big madness going on all
we
fronts.
Tried to ship a fast-paced cable here, and it's finally arrived. So we can hear Vandal shots finally, but one team that is hearing a lot of Vandal shots, well, more like operator shots, is the side of Bold Buff right now, as Zapso is going to fall to pain.
Instant kill with the showstopper coming out as well. Rex going to fire that down range blind past the smokes. Unfortunately, can't line up a decent shot. Although Squash has taken 12 HP. And Rex might press the issue anyway alongside Sergina with the kill. Meg falls to trade, but she also goes down the same. So 2 left standing here for the Bold Buff side. And just have the B side instant plant that can be secured. Peter catches Bold Buff himself. And it's all left to the last of Summer in the 1v4 clutch. This should be impossible.
Very, very tough task indeed. Can't flick onto the first. It's Rex who finds the kill, 5th in quick succession for the side of RIX. And we kind of had that chat right at the start of the show when we found out we were doing this series. We was like, okay, it's been a long day for us. We're glad we might have a quick series on our hands. But we said, do you think RIX are going to try and get the series done and dusted quickly? And it looks like they're doing just that. Yeah,
I mean, they were saying in chat earlier that their bedtime is 10:30 sharp. So
we've currently got...
So we've got 45 minutes until that point.
They can do 2 maps in 45, I reckon.
that is quite the push. That is quite the push, I will admit that. But we are definitely on track for that kind of one-sided fashion as of right now. RIX with a 5-0 start, decimating with these rifles. They've even got the LMGs being brought out. The operator is standard. Rex again, super fast into early contact. Peter is going to find the first kill onto Meg. So casualty taken. Rex does follow suit as well. Ball buff down. Boombots in. The barrier orb does get thrown up by the defensive line. That might throw things off for a moment, but instant trades back. Squash only with 1 kill. Zapso needs to turn the Sheriff in. She just can't do that here. Squash alone in the 1v4. A lot of 1v4s against the line of Bold Buff.
Yeah, and I think it's just the sheer slaying power from RIX that is kind of Bold Buff is struggling with a little bit. In terms of the way the game's played and the intelligence, these players on Bold Buff are very smart individuals. I think the biggest problem they're having is the overall individual one-on-one ability. The side of RIX, they can all find 2Ks, they can find 3Ks if they need to. I don't think the side of Bold Buff have got that one player that can do that, though.
It's going to be very difficult to find a true hero in this context for Bold Buff. We're going to the 7th round, of course. RIX Static, one away from taking the half outright. Rex again charging straight forward up against them, but only gets damage to be done. Sergino will get the kill initial. Zapzo and Buff with the trades back, and Pegasus' operator is forced to respond. A 3-on-3. It's a little bit better for Bold Buff in this one.
Yeah, finally a little bit of momentum could swing their way. breaking the momentum for the side of Bold Buff here is a very winnable round, to say the least. They've got 3 ults available online, Null being one of them in the hands of Squash. There's one player, though, that Omen, Bold Buff himself, snuck up behind enemy lines. He could do huge here.
Oh, awkward spray comes together against Lou in the end. Pegasus' operator wrapping in alongside Peter's pinch of the spray. Squash comes up with the operator, though, now leaving it all onto Pegasus. Shorty's brought out the course operator in his hands. Fighting to Zapzo, flashed off, blinded, shot, missed, and there you go. Bold Buff get there first.
Did you hear that scream of let's go? I think that was probably from downstairs, from the side of Bold Buff clutching up the round. And listen, I said, like, you know what, in terms of individual ability, the side of Bold Buff, they can definitely cause RIX some troubles. It's whether or not they can work as a team to try and shut down the individual plays. They started things off by killing Sagino. That's going to be the big high-impact player from RIX dropped off the server, and then from there, it's just trade after trade, and that snowball effect somehow goes ahead and works for them, and they find the first round on the board. So can they take that now? The momentum's still in their favour. It's a very, very tough task still, though. A long way to go here in this game of Haven.
Oh, straight in with the operator picks from the attacking forces. Lou found one on Squash, and they're quickly storming to the seaside as a result of that. Meg's Bladestorm has brought out and got herself a kill. Rex to fall to a 4-on-4. They notice she's back there somehow, trying to hunt for the information. They continue to send utility her direction to get caught off by it. Peter with a trade, and now the seaside is definitely under Rick's control.
One player, though, behind enemy lines. It is going to be Zapzo. He's going to catch Pegs as well, although Sagino finds the kill. All of a sudden, it is up to Zapzo. That Yoru player. Prowler comes through, pop flash in. That's going to be the kill. So 2 versus 1. A very winnable round. One flash available. One player left alive, but Peter finds the counter flash. Unfortunately for Zapzo, couldn't get himself out of trouble. But RIX, that's back-to-back rounds there, though, that were being trodden on eggshells for a little bit.
Yeah, for a moment. The flashbang catching the last player off on the part of the Ball Buff side, caught up on the wall, forced to run into it and ultimately run into the demise. So the half has been gained by RIX Static. And Ball Buff continue to struggle here. They might have found that follow-up, and certainly they were close to getting so. The clutch was right on. Not to be for Zapzo in this case. Top frag right now on the board of the defensive line, but right once again for RIX, and Sergino is the one that's really fragging hard at this one. Peter and Rex, however, starting off in this particular round, ripping apart all of that mid-offensive from the defensive line. Meg can get one trade back on Peter again. She's doing all that she can. Squash, I don't think is going to get picked up here, so he might be dead to rights, and Meg certainly is. So not much can be done. Squash to fall, all left to Zapzo again.
Yeah, it should be 8th on the board for the side of RIX. A lot of ult economy to work with going into the next as well, but you got to say, the side of Bold Buff, they're trying to hang with RIX and they're trying to not give up without a fight, but again, I think RIX just a team with a little bit of an edge here in this one. Speaking of the edge, RIX is going to find the Quadra. Attackers do win the round, and that's an 8th on the board, and RIX, they want to try and make this an early night for themselves here, Jay.
And that was the plan. The plan from the start, and the plan has been executed to pure perfection right now for the RIX side. I don't think we're expecting anything less here, John.
One thing I want to mention, though, is these two teams are actually sat next to each other in the LAN hall.
Oh, are they?
On the same row.
Oh, the trash talk must be ridiculous.
Yeah, I wish we was downstairs. Quick content team, get downstairs now. But no,
Yo, can we just shift our setup downstairs real quick?
Can we just, like, unplug it, stream
yeah.
We'll be back in, like, 10 minutes, maybe, if you're lucky. Like, just
doesn't take that long, right? Yeah. Oh, Showstopper, dead. Zapzo not even standing a chance against that one. Rex just charged so far forward. He even got Pegasus up towards heaven already. Like, this has not even been a contest to take that A side. Spike will go down, and they're just completely scrambled on the Ball Buff side.
I mean, you said Spike will go down. Spike's currently down in their spawn. However, Bold Buff doesn't realise that, and guess what? Peter's there all for a second. I thought he was going to find the easiest kill of his life, but he doesn't. And even still, they're going to rotate this over towards C and just... The side of Bold Buff are going to... Oh, no, okay, so they are going over towards A.
This is a very confusing strategy for RIX, but it is working because there is no one on any side. Flanks around, Pistol and Meg will again get a decent shot in of her own right, pick up a Vandal to work with, but now flashed in against them by the attacking forces. Tries to updraft, but doesn't quite work out. RIX have Peter there to put her down. 9-1 to the board of the Static side. Continuing to mount up round after round and try and make this extremely quick. This has been quite the dominating affair so far here, John.
Yeah, I think, you know, when we looked at the bracket and we saw we were given this game, it was, okay, we can kind of know what to expect from this series, to say the least. It should be quite a one-sided affair. I didn't think it would be as one-sided, personally. I thought we would have maybe looked at the likes of maybe 4 or 5 rounds on the board for one of the teams. However, you know what, RIX, they're a well-drilled team. They know how to play Haven as well, apparently, and looking to try and shut this out in as convincing performance as they can. RIX, though, going to get a little bit too over-aggressive, or at least Sagino is. It's going to be someone who drops him. Peter's there to refrag.
Yeah, 1 for 1 on the trades back. RIX playing from a HP deficit. Now being forced back, however. Squash almost caught by that Boombot. Got a little bit scary on that one. A 4-on-3 as Zapzo does chime in against Rex. Still got Peter forcing forward. All overloaded. Has not really been able to utilize that to much effect, though. Nobody falls on that B site thanks to the ulti. Meg leans in to try and support the offensive retake. The spike will get planted. Zapzo, dimensional drift straight into the spike's position. Sees 2 players. Pegasus able to get ball buff as a result of that. A 3-on-3 situation. Squash chimes back in. Pegasus setting up on top of the boost alongside Lou's operator. Kill found, but Meg's in the corner. Sees the ops gun barrel. Here's the footsteps of one other player. Has absolutely no idea where they actually are, though. Goes for the wall bangs. Gets the kill, but Pegasus and swing back and get the trade. Taking too long to get the frag onto Lou for Meg there, ultimately costing her the round.
I like what Meg was doing because she knew and saw the gun barrel. She just couldn't locate Peg, unfortunately, and, well, Omen, from the shadows to say the least, ducks his way out of the smoke and makes Meg pay. As, I mean, the 10th on the board, final round and a half here, probably looking at the likes of an 11-1 half, even at a 10-2.
Yeah.
This should be a straightforward 13-2, 13-3 win here, realistically, for RIX.
1 round and a half. And RIX certainly have not let go of the advantage that they gained so early on in this one. Rex with the kill onto Squash. Already starting things off for the RIX side. They bear down upon C. We've got Meg to stand by. RIX is going to cut off the rotations as well. Kill found on Zapzo. Summer's also dead. Triple up for Rex. 2 left standing here on the board at buff camp. Just pressing the issue with the operator being charged out. Doesn't quite land for Lou's part of things. Meg actually gets a double. So again, she's doing all she can alongside board buff, but unable to use the ultis to their effectiveness is Sergino instead with the tour de force, with a 2K and with 11-1 at the half for RIX Static.
Yep, close half to say the least. I think 11-1 going into the second half. RIX, they win the pistol, they win the game, right? Even if they lose the pistol, they probably win the map, to be totally honest with you. It's got that kind of affair written all over it. But you know what? Although it's 11-1, it could have quite easily been the likes of an 8-4 or a 7-5 scoreline, because there were some really tight rounds in there.
Some really tight rounds and a couple of clutches in there as well. Like that really could have easily gone the way of the ball buff side had someone repositioned themselves a bit more correctly, had they checked the right angle at the right time. Like, it's not like 11-1 definitely seems one-sided. And it kind of has been one-sided, but not to the extent that 11-1 initially sort of like implies here, John. Like, it does imply it was a complete whitewash. It has not ended up being the case at all. I'm feeling a bit bad for ball buff here because of the fact that probably they deserve a bit of a better scoreline as a result of that, but they have got the scoreline that they have as a result. They're into the pistol round of the second half, trying to find the kills back on the RIX side. They will start things off against Squash. Meg with a responsive put down again by the quick share of shots. And Lou will get a double to secure match point, or map point actually, for the RIX side. I'm so used to the best
of threes, Jay.
Yes.
Bold buff on out of it just yet. We've still got Fracture to go at least. And although map point for Haven does be put on the board for the side of RIX, no doubt the turnover across the 2 maps will probably be relatively quite fast as well. A quick toilet break for the players and ourselves, that's about it. But, you know, I don't want Bold Buff to be too disheartened by this, because I think they could take away some positives, that there are a few rounds that were relatively close. They could have gone a different way. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Haven, it's just such a solid map for RIX at the moment. And they look so strong on it. And they look like they are going to put the first map on the board. There goes Squash. See you later, Buff. Zapzo gets zapped off the map. It's all up to Meg. I believe 5v1, Jet Diff, definitely inbound. Not quite today though, as Rex finds the triple. That's 13-1.
To be fair, your faith wasn't exactly completely misplaced on yourself, John, right? Because Meg actually did put up a decent fight there towards the end.
No.
Just unfortunately, she had a Spectre in her hand. Yeah. And the firepower just wasn't there. And at the end of the day, it just felt like the firepower wasn't there for the ball buff side. It kind of can be expected to their credit, because this is the top seed of the tournament. 3 players over on the RIX side actually got the top of the board score on the overall leaderboard. So for them, again, it's the expected result, I kind of want to say.
Rex got a 432 average combat score. That is ridiculous. He was doing so much damage in that game. We are going to try and get the second map. A bit of a quicker turnover time because obviously of how long a break we took between this map while the seeding process was going on. Again, we can only apologise about that. That's not our fault. Going to map number 2 though, Fracture. Are you excited to finally cast Fracture,
I am.
Jay?
I'm very excited to finally cast Fracture.
I might just, you know what? I'm actually going to leave you to just solo cast. All right?
Please don't do that, John. For the love of God, please. I can't do that.
For the love of entertainment, Jay, content. That's what we
I
want.
think that might bore the people to death, to be honest.
No,
I'm only interested because you're here, man.
Eternal J and boring does not go in the same sentence.
I don't know about that one,
Optimal
mate.
sentences that Eternal J can be in are beautiful, extremely entertaining, good-looking, best hair in Europe. I can go on if you want. I'm here all night.
Clearly so. Well, listen, what we will do is go to a very short break and hopefully... Oh, no, wait, hang on. Are we going straight in? I think we might be going straight in, although I say that, and the RIX side...
They're just changing sides.
Okay, they are changing sides. Okay, we're probably not going towards the break, so we might just get straight into the second map without even taking much of a moment at all. So
the players have just said, it's 10 o'clock, Jay. we want to go to bed. Let's just get the games going.
Fair enough, I guess. Okay, then I guess we can talk a little bit more through things, and it's probably a good idea for me to bring up the call-outs, make sure that I don't get anything wrong.
Surprisingly, Fracture
case.
has quite a few CS call-outs. A lot of it is
okay,
just long.
All right.
I even tried to get the good old banana call-out being brought into to Valorant. But
is there if there's a place that looks like banana, I'm calling it banana.
Oh, there is 100%. There is literally somewhat of an identical layout to banana on the map. To be totally honest with you.
All right, then I'm looking forward to casting banana then.
So we'll have to wait and see. We are going to wait for these players to finally just get into the correct selected slots. We do want to try and get through this and catch up on the delay that we was just behind ever so slightly. And I mean,
Goat Zapzo, by the way.
Huh?
Goat Zapzo, by the way.
Goat Zapzo, yes, yes, we love Zapzo.
I'm only saying that because he's typing in the chat that I'm the goated caster in this pairing.
I don't know if he means Goat J as in Eternal J or Goat Observer J.
Oh, that's a good shout, actually. Oh,
you know, real goat. He's like a lamb. Salty J, the Observer, is the lamb. You're the actual goat.
Ah, there you go. So there you go. So
does that make you his dad, though? I don't know. Even though he's older than you.
He is older than me, isn't he? Yeah.
I'm confusing everyone here at Epic this week. If you're at Epic this week, don't talk to me because you will get verbal.
Wow, egoed by John P.
You'll get verbal diarrhea out of me, literally. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. It's true. We'll have to wait and see how things unfold. We do want to get this game going. So players, if you are watching, please.
Well, the problem is that we can play with them all they want, but right now they're watching the last round of the matchup because of the fact that obviously we're on the full 5-minute delay, 4-minute delay.
Yeah, 3.5, I think.
3.5 minutes.
Something
okay.
like
so
that. It's usually 2 rounds, which
a couple of rounds out there. So roughly 3.5, 4 minutes on delay. So we can sit here and ask them, and hopefully they just jump in as soon as we can possibly do so. I've got a couple of players that are in the observer slot, particularly Rex over on the RIX side. So Rex, hurry up, mate.
Well, it's because Bulbuff hasn't switched over to
there you go. It's all Bulbuff's fault. There we go.
That guy, I'm surprised that guy can even navigate a keyboard at the moment, all right, let alone play a game of Valorant. But here we go. I do think we are all ready to get things lock and loaded. The R's should be going in the chat relatively soon. Hopefully we can get things up and running here on Fracture for yourself, Jay, for the very first time.
Yes,
honestly.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I've just done a number of unlucky draws because I'm not like active in the Valorant space. I only really do the Epic Land stuff, so it's always just like casting Icebox and casting Ascent and casting Haven and casting, I don't know, definitely not Fracture. I was going to say Fracture, but that's not the case at all. I don't ever cast Fracture. But here we go. Map 2, Fracture, the pick of the ball buff side. John, is there any 500 IQ thinking from this side that might be able to steal a map victory?
Oh, I was about to troll you for a second there, Jay, and say what agents do we expect to see on a map like Fracture, but I won't throw you that question just yet. No, I mean in terms of thinking, I think it would. Oh my God, we're getting a 5 duelist team comp from the side of Bold Buff. Oh, let's do it. Look, Observer. I don't want to see any RIX gameplay. I just want to watch Bold Buff for the whole game. But I love the fact, though, that this is still a very serious team comp from RIX. They've got a Breach on here, which is pretty much nigh on. You'll have a Breach or a Sky. They'll have the likes of a double duelist in the Neon or the Yoru. And you'll have the Smokes and the Sentinel set up for the Brimstone as well as the Chamber. So, listen, this is going to be an intriguing affair, to say the least. I'm not too sure what duelist I would have liked to had the most if I was on the side of Bold Buff. Probably the like of a Neon or a Reyna. They work very, very well in this map. Phoenix on Fracture, not too sure about that though, Jay.
Let's have a look. Let's find out.
Listen, it could be the hidden meta.
Could well be.
We could be creating a legacy and history right here.
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out as this one goes on. Pistol round for the time being, and it will be RIX, of course, on the defensive side. We'll get those graphics put up for you so you can see who's on which side of the map up, and of course the attacking forces will be the bald buff cap. So, yes, it will be pistol time. Zapzo.
Zapzo's asking for a post-game interview on the losing team, which is absolutely unheard of.
They are in it for the full memes at this stage. All right, let's get into it. We have got a curveball ready for the hands of Zapzo, getting charged in against by the likes of RIX, who again charges straight forward and gets the opening kill against Zapzo. Squash and RIX go back and forth. RIX with a double up as RIX trying to chase them down. The B site is contested by the attacking forces, but the spike is yet to really contest itself. RIX going in for the triple and finally put down by Squash. So Gina, however, brings out the headhunter, puts Squash back down, and there is a bit of a sneaky beaky play because RIX Static have left ball buff to go ahead and got that spike down on the A side.
Listen, that's not the worst of situations for Bold Buff to find himself in. Fracture's a map that's quite easily clutchable one as well because there's so many different sort of angles that you have to hold. The bomb will be planted in sort of the default spot to plant for a main and try and watch it there from underneath. But either way, RIX in the 3 versus 1 should probably steal this round away quite easy. You got Peter coming from Sat, you got 2 players coming through the middle of the map and Sand as well. So there we go, simple as you like. It was Sigino over towards A main and, or connector rather, should I say, sorry.
Defensive hold, easy stuff for the RIX camp. Decent stuff. Again, just to kick things off, the pistol being gained. A lot of aggression out there as they just try to full send and charge straight forward against the players. Ultimately not quite working out in the way that they wanted it to over on the attacking side of things. And I do recognise that those graphics are swapped around, so we have to get those quickly changed up all the way. So the RIX side, again, just taking confident starts.
I would like to request something to cover the chat before we get banned on Twitch, if possible. It's safe to say it's late here on Friday evening at Epic Land,
yes.
And the players are having a bit of fun amongst themselves. But here we go, the aggressive surge out. It's going to be RIX to find the first. Summer's there to trade it back through. Peg, though, only going to damage up that Reina as it's going to be the Jet there on Meg to trade it back through. But frag for frag, trade for trade, leaves Bold Buff 1 player up here in round number 2.
Yeah, surprisingly so. Meg is going to try and change the narrative on that one, though. She will try and force forward, get flashed off. They are charging in against her real quick. Forced to use the smokes initially. Caught off by Pegasus, getting the kill, leaving all to Bald Buff. This time without the spike, this time without much of a plant here. And well, can engage over towards this B half of the map, but ultimately it might be a little bit fruitless.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention for anyone tuning in and thinking, wait, Bold Buff are going to currently go 2 up against RIX Static. The actual graphics are the wrong way around,
yes,
unfortunately.
We're still trying to work to get that fixed up here. So
we will try and get that sorted for you as quickly as possible and get the team names changed over, but we'll correct you until then anyway. So it should be straightforward stuff here, really, for RIX Static. They should put this second round on the board. Easy does it. For the side of Bold Buff, Fracture seems to not be the go-to for them thus far. Lou actually finds the knife kill as well, which I think Bold Buff will be having a few words with him across the table about that. Say, Lou, really, mate, you had to do me like that.
RIX easy control found as of right now. The 2-0 start, and again, Bald Buff don't really know where to go about this one. They have tried some other complex strategies, and I guess this is something actually I could point out initially about the whole the thing with Fracture, right? Is that you have so many angles of attack from the attacking forces. So in theory, it could present itself as a great opportunity that you could open up for Bald Buff here. Unfortunately, they haven't really taken much of that opportunity so far.
Yeah, I think it's hard as well because I know RIX will practice Fracture too at the same time. So if there was a map that you would probably think could be stolen by a mix, it would be the likes of Fracture. However, RIX are one of those teams, similar to sort of CSGG, who will put in a lot of time on every map to make sure that there's sort of no poor pick for them in the map pool. You know, it's tough that they've just come up against the top seed here so early on in the bracket stage. They find the third as well. Does RIX Static, and well, we saw how one-sided it was on the first half of Haven once the first few rounds started flying RIX's way, and it looks like it could be the same affair here. But one thing to note, though, one positive out of this is we finally got the team changes and the team name switched over for you guys at home, so it's a little bit less confusing. Yeah,
RIX 3-0 up Bald Buff. I'm going to be bringing out a bit of a weird force buy. They have force for every single round so far, I think, here, John. So
oh, they will. Like, they're just going to have fun with it. They're not going to take it too incredibly serious. They'll probably take tomorrow serious when they're playing against teams that they deem that they should beat. RIX, though, going to find the first. It's Bold buff though, there to trade it straight back out. Rex gonna get hit with the stuns from Squash. Can't find the swing though as the Guardian head tap comes through. And all of a sudden, once again, it's all up. Can we just get a bait and raise in the chat? Because Bold buff seems to be last alive for his team in the same spot every single time.
I mean, his name has founded the team.
He's allowed to do what he likes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, like he can take down Sergino with the quick headshot. Yeah, you can do that. He's just what he likes to do. Well, I'd like to try and get the spike back if possible. I guess just, however, having mollies and smokes in place to ensure that Bold buff can't really make much progress, and he will be very tentative about his peeks in from here on out, being a bit more careful about the positions. Might challenge Rex directly, but Rex is so ready for this. The better HP, the Guardian tap, but not quite landing. Still looks to put up the corridors here and try to charge in against Bold buff. See, and spray, and Bold buff caught by the flank, given up to the triple of Rex. There it is, 4-0 for the static side.
Yeah, nice stuff so far from RIX. Quick, sharp, short rounds, to say the least, thus far here. I would like to think that although these people are friends out of game and they do, you know, enjoy each other's company and will have a laugh, I don't want to see too much disrespect in terms of people playing for knife kills and stuff like that, just out of a sportsmanship side of thing. And in terms of the way it is, okay, cool, you get the occasional knife kill, it's always great to boast about. However, let's just try and keep things as nice as possible. But one thing that is nice at the moment is the scoreline for the side of RIX Static. 4-0 up, Bold buff in a little bit of trouble, you could say, early on here, Jay.
Oh, overwhelmed already. Lou gets the kill back onto Bold buff, kick things off on the right foot for RIX. Summer is again going to try and fold some trades, and the ladies on this side are definitely doing the decent work here for Bold buff. Meg was top of the board in the last map up, and Summer was able to hold control. Zapzo has actually fallen, so continue the pressure with the 4 versus 3. RIX Static are in control again.
Listen, Summer and Meg can play. They're two very, very good players. I mean, I've seen Meg play a lot more than I've seen Summer play, for example. But yeah, they're fragging out for their squad at the moment, which is always nice to have. You know, when the likes of, I mentioned Squash coming into this, I thought he would be the main fragging point in terms of from what I knew of the squad. But it's nice to see Meg and Summer really stepping up for the squad here and putting the boys in the backpack, to say the least. Loot is going to miss the first though. With that operator, the Empress invested so early on here is going to be allowing Summer to find the triple, looking for the quadra. It's all up to Sagino. The spike yet to go down.
It will go down now to Summer's hands. Sagino onto clutch here. One of the rare times we've seen RIX in a clutch scenario, at least from the back foot of a clutch scenario. 1 versus 2. Try switch out to a different weapon. Automatic if possible. The operator, however, walks right into the hands of Squash, and that will be the opening round at long last for Bold buff. But much earlier in this particular context by comparison to the previous map, so they can be happy with that much at least.
Yeah, well, that's the annual round for Bold buff against RIX for this event and for this map. No, but either way, look, that's what you want from the side of Bold buff. One player to step up. It was Summer that time after popping the Empress. She swings out, obviously with the added sort of combat stim on the Empress and the fire ability with that Phantom as well. That thing is a laser beam. It shoots so straight. You find the first few kills, and from there, all you got to do is make sure you and Squash play a crossfire in the 2 versus 1, and that's exactly what happens.
Got 2 ultis pulled out here on the RIX Static side. 3 that can be utilised for Bold buff, but RIX want to try to get themselves inside. RIX has walked right past them. Summer going to punish. A bit too aggressive, a bit too overzealous for the RIX side. RIX is a little bit miffed at that one, but Peter and Lou have them marked. Who trades on Zapzo and Squash. Zapzo's going to try and run it back and will get overwhelmed by Peter in the end. So RIX will hold their trades to the 4-on-3 as Bold buff regroup to the upper side of the map. And, well, I thought they were going to split their way out, but it seems like Meg was a little bit miscommunicated with the rest of her teammates. Will eventually join them on the AA here.
Yeah, Rex has just put about 500 question marks in the chat to say, why are 2 of you sat inside a smoke? But here comes the showstopper. No satchels to work with, though, for Bold buff. He's got to try and blind fire this somewhere. He actually goes to shoot it, but it runs out. The Rolling Thunder comes through, but Bold buff's not hit by it. There's going to be Peter, though, to trade for the triple kill in the round. They're stuck over towards Satellite, though. That rotation over towards B has to come in. Peter finds the quadra, can't find the ace. Sagino's there to clean up shop. Speaking of aces and 5s, 5 on the round now for RIX.
Good effort there from Bold buff, though. I mean, RIX caught very far off guard. Again, Rex was caught charging straight into the smoke past 2 players. And, well, again, mistakes like that are what you're going to make if you have the high-pressure environment. And, yes, they are starting to take it a little bit less seriously on this RIX side at the same time, because they are so far in the lead. But they don't buck their ideas up, and things might get a little bit awkward when it comes to how confident they really will look here.
Yeah, and I mean, especially if the likes of Summer, for example, and the Rainer can try and find the opening pick like she has done so successfully well thus far. I don't see why any reason that the side of Bulbuff can't take some more rounds here. Squash, though, is going to find the decoy and a bit of a tag up onto the actual Yoru themselves. Got to try and get onto the site, though, and find a couple kills before this ult does inevitably run out. There we go. There's one. Can't find the second. It's Lou who trades.
It's a 2 for 1 overall. As RIX chimes in against Bulbuff. 4-on-3 gain for the RIX static side, making it 2 as Zapzo drops. Peter finds Summer. Now it's all left to Meg once again. Blazestorm pulled out. Has seen one. Careful and quiet about how she creeps around. Might even catch Lou off. Be the easier target with the low HP. He's disappeared, so slowly but surely, but with very little map control, and also without the spike in her hands.
Tough spot for Meg to find herself in. Makes her task a little bit easier as she does drop Lou, but Peter's there to find the headshot placement. 6th on the board here for the side of RIX Statics. They're trying to get things done as quickly as possible. Peter on breach, 10-2 right now. Jay putting on the clinic for the side of RIX.
It was Gino over the course of the last map in the previous best of 1, but here right now it's Peter. RIX Static don't really think they can mind too much about who's performing at their highest level right here. So as long as they can close it out pretty effectively.
It's one of those things where I said as well, we might see a bit more of a different style of play from RIX and Role Change, where they might send a few different players out to be more the hyper-aggressive and entry points in comparison to what they would usually be. But it's always nice to know that if you've got one player not popping off, you've got the rest of them stepping up, and stepping up indeed as Rex and Peg combine for a few kills. Sagino ships in as well, so does Rex. And just like that, you blink and you missed a round as the 7th goes on the board, and we're back up to a 6-round deficit here. And it looks like it could be a very one-sided half here on Fracture again.
Indeed it does, John. Indeed it does. The defensive side have done all their work against Bulbuff, and they are just, doing well. The chat, the chat's
if you've just seen,
funny.
I hope they've seen the chat, because I mentioned that they were sat next to each other, and after a few drinks at Epic Land, people didn't realise how loud they talk. And some of them, the team of Bulbuff have apparently said, "We're going A, guys, let's go A," and the whole of RIX have just stacked it because they can hear them. So maybe not the best idea.
Espionage.
Yes,
that's what we call
literally.
that. Summer kill found to start things off. Pegasus at least gets that one trade alongside Sergino trying through, but Summer doubles up to a 3-on-3. Peter challenges onto her though, and now sees Bulbuff for permanency. Will try and force him out of the way. Zapzo gets the kill onto Lou, however, and tries to hold some sort of contest here for the Bulbuff side. A 2v1 for him. And a little bit of healing as well. That's a lot of work to be done. Spike is not within his grasp either. I've got a challenge onto at least one player. Peter, low HP versus 124. Headshot still gets landed. RIX find 8.
I think it's more of a matter of time and when, not if, RIX win this map. To be totally honest with you, Jay, it's, you know, I've got to say, if these two sides played earlier on, when the side of Bulbuff might have been a little bit more locked in and a bit more focused, I could see potential for Bulbuff, you know, picking up a few more rounds. Even if you look back at the Haven, it was 13-1, right? 13-2. But that could have easily been 5 or 6 rounds on the board for Bulbuff. You know, they're not a team to look past. They're a very good individually talented team, but unfortunately things just aren't merging well together thus far here at EPIC36.
Sergino with the kill on Meg, spraying through on the wallbang attempt from the LMG, but it's the operator that gets things started. There is a fireball in the way. They'll try to look for the ulti orb as well and almost get caught off here. Meanwhile, there is a bait and switch. Great kills in from Sergino. It doesn't look like the orbital strike caught the actual position of the hot hands where it got back out here, but either way, everyone's dead on the Bulbuff side, so all left to Bulbuff himself, who just can't hold himself a contest. 9-1 to the board of the RIX Static boys. And yeah, this is starting to look a bit more one-sided here in this one, John, and probably going to end up being quite the one-sided affair from here on out. We've got 2 more rounds to close out the half, and probably 2 more rounds after that.
Yeah, well, they said their bedtime's at 10:30 strict. They've currently got 17 minutes until it hits 10:30, so they're trying to do things by means of profession. You could say as RIX, like you mentioned. They win the next 2, they're going to advance themselves onto 11. Only 2 more rounds needed after that, and it'll be a similar scoreline to the first round. But again, though, Bulbuff, there were a few rounds in this first half that could have easily gone their way on a different day.
Again, some reckless plays from the RIX side that are ultimately being punished by a ball buff. I think I mentioned that previously. So Gino doesn't deny the spike plant. He's known to be so close, though. Zapzo caught off to the advantage now for the RIX static side. Squash needs to get this train. He just can't do it. So Gino with a double up, looking to spray through for the triple. Ball buff is caught. And now they're on the defuse of the spike. Some are also caught back by Loose Part. 10-1 to the board. RIX are just overwhelming. And there is really nothing the ball buff can do about it.
They've just come up against better caliber opposition. Sometimes it happens and you just got to say, you know, fair play, GG, we move on to the next game. And I think that's what the side of bold buff will do. When you've got Sergino just be hopping around the map like that, finding quick scopes with an operator, it's safe to say he's feeling himself in probably more ways than one. But, I mean, at 10 rounds to 1 at the moment, looking into the final round and making it 11, you can't really make a case for bold buff here, can you, Jay?
No, unfortunately not. I'd love to believe in miracles, but at the end of the day, as a pundit, I have to look at things statistically and objectively, as objectively as I can, and form an opinion based on those stats and those facts. And unfortunately, the facts do not point the way of the ball buff side. RIX have just looked better in every capacity. The numbers are there, from the bottom frag being at the same number as the top frag over on the ball buff side. So, Showstopper brought out initially facing forward to the ball buff camp. Seems like he might get caught indeed. Peter and Sergino get the kills against ball buff and Zapzo. They'll charge back forward on the defensive line. Meg could get caught on the zip line right here indeed. She's sprayed down by Peter, sent tumbling down into the underground. 2 left on the ball buff camp, and Spike isn't even with them right here, so there's not much they can do.
I don't think ball buff realised that you've not got the spike. They just flashed their way onto the site and aggro peeked out like they were going to do something. But guess what? The spike's still in spawn, guys, and Pegasus, though, is going to fall. There goes Rex. Summer on this Reina, though, Jay. Really performing well and popping off for the squad. All up to Squash. Can he find one for the troubles? The insult to injury on the ult, although he picks up one. Triple for Sergino. 11-1.5.
It's 2 more rounds for RIX to make it a simple 2-0 in this series. And ball buff, and they have just been decimated from the word go. And we kind of expected this coming here, John. It really did. Unfortunately, it has ended up being all that we expected and more. And well, I don't mean more in the good kind of way. No competition being found on the ball buff side. It should be their early exit of the upper bracket and their lower bracket run to come.
And I think they're a team that could thrive off that lower bracket underdog storyline as well. They're a team that, okay, cool, the score lines have been 13-1 and looks like 13-1 or 13-2, whatever it was. I don't think that writes the story of the game as to how well this side of bold buff actually performed themselves, Jay, to be totally honest with you. I think, you know, you look back on it and it could have easily been a 13-6, 13-7, which isn't no embarrassing the scoreline, to be totally honest with you. But we're going to head into the pistol round now, as things do change over, but one thing that hasn't changed is the onslaught that RIX seems to be throwing the way of bold bluff.
Straight into the A side, Sergino, Pegasus for the next 2 kills. Squash and Zapzo do try and back in this 2v5 now, bring it to a 2 versus 3. The continuous facing it against them. Pegasus with a sawing the pistol round. Again goes so well. At least Zapzo finds 1 exit, but no more than that. Triple up for Pegasus. And it's match point for RIX Static.
Map match series. Round number 1 point, whatever you want to call it. All I know is it's bedtime point for me so far. But what a great day of action so far, though, Jay, to say the least, in terms of the best of 1s and best of 3s, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, this best of 3 was probably the best accurate representation of what we probably have in the bracket itself. I imagine there might be some matches still playing map 1 with how quickly this one's gone down. But it is what we've been given, and it is the match that has ultimately been broadcast. And in this case, it's a bit of a shame, but again, we looked at this whole thing. We said it's probably going to be RIX Static as the clear and heavy favourites in this match, but it has ended up being all that done, then some. Again, flash forward for Zapzo. Sergino completely blind with a sprays through the Spectre. 2 kills found. Rex to charge forward, catch a player off, try and force them away, stun them back, and continue to face alongside Sergino with the triple. Ball buff down. 2 left standing here for the ball buff camp. The spike should get planted whenever Lou wants to stop memeing around. It doesn't really matter at this stage. He's got 1:15 to get the spike plant itself. Here player inbound from Squash's part. Try to tap their way through. Sergino facing onto Squash. Also now has Meg as the backup player. Plant to be secured. Meg with 1 decent frag. She actually doubles up here. Again, trying to hold a bit of fight, but ultimately put down by RIX. They charge into the site and get overwhelmed. 13-1 for the RIX Static camp. A 2-0 series that sends them into the quarterfinals with ease.
Yep, and safe to say, getting themselves a nice early night as well with the 2-0 And you know what? When we coming into this, we saw what one team is there that we can look out for, and RIX was that team coming into this series. It was top seed versus bottom seed. We kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into. However, RIX though, you know, they'll be looking at some of those rounds and thinking, okay, maybe the only reason we nearly threw a few of those rounds was because we were playing about. They can't play about like that though against some of the teams in this competition because they will be punished.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think they're going to be quite like that tomorrow. I think when they get back up against the real high-tier squads, then they're going to have their minds locked on the trophy again to take the victory, to take away a great tournament here in Epic Land, to continue their campaign in the Beacons tournament, because with this being the penultimate one, it's going to be important from here on out for RIX. So maybe this competition that they faced today wasn't exactly the representation of the talent they're going to face tomorrow. And I hope they don't take a look at this matchup and think it's going to set the pace for things, because I don't think it will.
No, listen, they're going to be playing against teams that are in the same position as them throughout the bracket if they was to advance through to the next stages. So I think it's safe to say they can try and hold their heads high, but for RIX there's going to be a big confidence builder taking into tomorrow. They're going to be playing against, you know, the tougher side of the bracket, you could say, the people that have won, for example. But listen, what a way to really end what has been a fantastic start to the Beacon circuit here at Epic Land.
Absolutely. A hell of a first day. Our group's over, our bracket has started, and we'll keep you up to date. Actually, it's a good shout. We should probably take a look at the bracket itself. Let's close the show by telling you how things have gone.
Let's tell what everyone Maps 1 scores are currently, right?
Assuming Map 1's are even done here. Bear with me 1 second. Let's have a look at the elimination stage and see what we can find at this moment, see who is making their moves forward. And the answer to that question is absolutely nobody. No maps have finished in the other series. This is ours has completely wrapped up in the 2-0 fashion. So the best you have to do is just go to tournaments.epicland.co.uk and take a look at the Valorant bracket over there to keep up to date with how things are going down and how the lay of the land looks in tomorrow's proceedings. John, any thoughts about tomorrow?
I'm excited. I'm excited for best of threes all day. It's bracket play. It's crunch time. Losers go home. Winners can sort of cement themselves in the next step of their Valorant careers. It's all to play for, and can't wait to get to bed and wake up tomorrow and cast some more Valorant, man.
Indeed. A lot of actions to look forward to tomorrow, so make sure you're tuning in to the Twitch channel today and tomorrow's proceedings. Again, we'll be back, I believe, at the same time in the morning at 11 a.m. where the action will kick off with our first best of three of the day. But until that point, we bid you all adieu here from Epic Land on behalf of myself, the Eternal J, my co-commentator, John P, and of course my other co-commentator, Rook. I want to thank so much for watching and for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow to continue Epic 36.